He was the best. Smart. Deadly. Unstoppable. They gave him a target. The Russian president. But the moment the trigger was pulled, everything went wrong. The people who sent him disappeared. The safe exit gone. Now, the whole world is hunting one man. Used. Betrayed. Alone. But they made one mistake. They left him alive.
I'm coming for the truth, and for whoever set me up.
This summer, trust no one. Run fast. Strike first.
Michael Scofield lived alone in a quiet part of London. His house was small, simple, and clean. No one ever came to visit. No one ever asked about him, and that was exactly how he liked it. Michael wasn't just any man. He used to work for the CIA. He had done secret missions in places most people had never even heard of. But one day, he got tired. He walked away from it all. He just wanted peace. One cold evening, as rain tapped gently on his window, his phone rang. It was a voice he hadn't heard in years. "Michael, we need you," the voice said. It was calm, deep, and serious. Michael frowned. "I told you I'm done. This is bigger than anything you've done before." The voice continued. "It's about saving millions of lives." Michael didn't speak. He listened. "The Russian president is planning something dangerous," the voice said. "War is coming, Michael. You have the skill to stop it." Michael looked out the window. He hated war. He hated seeing people suffer. "And what happens after? We'll protect you," the voice said. "Once the job is done, we'll take care of everything. Safe house. New name. You disappear." There was a long silence. Michael's fingers slowly curled into a fist. His past was catching up with him. But if this was truly to save lives, "I'll do it," he said quietly. The line went dead. Michael stared at the phone. He didn't know that this mission would change everything. He didn't know that once he pulled the trigger, the world would turn against him, and the people who promised to protect him would be the ones hunting him. 3 days later, Michael Scofield stood at the edge of a snowy forest, just outside Moscow. His breath came out in white clouds. The air was cold, sharp, and quiet. Everything was going as planned. He wore a thick coat, gloves, and a black cap pulled low. Hidden in a bag on his back were all the tools he needed. A special rifle, a map, a fake passport, and a small radio. His face was calm, but inside, his heart beat fast. He wasn't nervous because he couldn't do the job. He was nervous because something about it didn't feel right. A voice came through his earpiece. "Michael, you're 2 clicks from the target. He lands in 15 minutes. Are you ready?" Michael nodded. "I'm ready." "Good. Once the job is done, head to the safe point. We'll extract you." Michael moved quickly and silently through the trees. He had done this kind of mission before. Sneak in, take the shot, disappear. But this was no normal mission. He was about to kill the president of Russia. He climbed a small hill and lay flat behind a snow-covered rock. From there, he could see the airfield. A private jet was already coming down to land. Michael took out his rifle, set it up, and looked through the scope. Everything became closer, clearer. He could see soldiers, black cars, and then the man himself. The Russian president stepped out, smiling, waving to his guards. Michael's fingers slowly squeezed the trigger. Crack. One shot. One scream. Then chaos. Guards ran everywhere. People shouted. The president fell. Michael didn't wait. He backed up, ran through the trees, and headed for the safe point. But as he reached the spot, no one was there. No car, no team, no backup, only silence. Michael's heart dropped. Something was wrong. Very wrong. Michael Scofield crouched low in the snow, hiding behind a large tree. His breath came fast. His boots were wet. His hands were shaking not from fear, but from cold and confusion. He looked again at the safe point. It was an old barn near the forest road. That's where the extraction team was supposed to be. A black SUV. A man named Jonas. A new passport. A clean escape. But no one came. Michael grabbed his radio and whispered, "This is Ghost. I'm at the safe point. Where are you?" Nothing. He turned the volume up and tried again. "Ghost to base. I repeat, I'm at the safe point." Still silence. Then a sound. But it wasn't from the radio. It was from above. A helicopter. Michael ducked quickly under a tree. The chopper flew low. Bright lights sweeping the ground. It had the Russian flag on its side. Soldiers leaned out with guns, searching. "They're not here to help me," Michael thought. "They're here to catch me." He ran. Through trees. Over roots. Across frozen ground. His mind raced. Why didn't they come? Why was the radio silent? Had they used him? Michael stopped behind a thick log, his chest rising and falling. His hands were cold, but his mind was sharp. "Think, Michael, think." He opened his bag and took out the fake passport they gave him. It had a name, David Costa. The photo was his, but something looked off. He tore it open. Inside the cover was a tiny chip. He crushed it with a rock. They were tracking him. They sent him to do the job, then left him to take the fall. Michael's eyes narrowed. He wasn't just running from Russia now. He was running from everyone, and he didn't know who to trust. The next morning, the sun rose slowly over the snowy trees. Michael Scofield hadn't slept at all. He had spent the night hiding in an old hunting shack deep in the woods. His stomach growled, and his body ached. But he had bigger problems. He turned on a small radio he found in the shack. The president of Russia was shot yesterday evening by an unknown assassin. Sources say he is in critical condition. Michael leaned closer. Russia has released a photo of the suspect. He is believed to be an American. His name is Michael Scofield. His heart stopped. Russia is calling this an act of war. They are asking all countries to help find and arrest Michael Scofield, calling him the world's most dangerous terrorist. Michael turned off the radio and stared at the wall. They had given him a mission. They had promised to protect him. Now his face was on every screen in the world. He wasn't a secret anymore. He was a target. He looked at the photo on the passport again. His face, now burned into news broadcasts. Michael pulled out a marker from his bag and changed the picture slightly. Then he shaved his beard using a broken mirror and a sharp knife. He put on a new jacket from the shack. He needed to look like someone else. Anyone else. Outside, he saw birds flying away. Something had scared them. He moved fast and quiet, running from the shack into the woods. Behind him, Russian soldiers reached the shack. They were close. Michael ran harder. He wasn't just escaping anymore. He had to survive. He had to find out why they betrayed him. And he had to do it before the world closed in. Michael Scofield made it to a small town on the edge of the forest. His legs were tired. His face was covered with dirt and snow. He had walked all night and into the morning. The town looked quiet. Smoke rose from chimneys. People walked slowly, wearing thick jackets and boots. Michael kept his head low. He wore a wool cap and glasses he found in an old cabin. His new look made him harder to recognize. He walked past a bakery and smelled fresh bread. His stomach growled again. He hadn't eaten in 2 days, but he couldn't stop now. He had to find help. He walked into a small phone shop and asked, "Do you have internet?" The man behind the counter nodded. "In the back." "1 minute, please." Michael waited, eyes scanning the windows. No soldiers, no cameras, just cold and silence. The man waved him over and led him to a small computer room. Michael sat down, quickly opened a secret email, and typed a message. Subject: burned. Message: They left me. I need answers. Moscow is hunting me. I need extraction. Now. Ms. He clicked send and sat still. Minutes passed. Then a reply came. I'm in Prague. Come fast. You are not safe. They're watching everything. The sender was an old friend, Samir, a man Michael once saved during a mission in Syria. Michael shut down the computer, thanked the shop owner, and left. He had a new plan. Reach Prague, find Samir, get the truth. But just as he stepped into the street, a loud voice echoed from a TV in a shop window. Breaking! American spy Michael Scofield believed to be in southern Russia. Citizens are warned he is armed and dangerous. His face was everywhere now, and someone in the crowd was watching him closely. He was the best, smart, deadly, unstoppable. They gave him a target, the Russian president. But the moment the trigger was pulled, everything went wrong. Michael Scofield didn't stop walking. He kept his head down and his steps steady, but he could feel that someone was watching him. He passed a group of people gathered near a newsstand. A little boy pointed at the screen. Look, Mama, that's the man from the news. Michael froze for just a second. The mother pulled her son close. Her eyes met Michael's. He turned and walked faster. Down the street, around a corner, then into a narrow alley between two buildings. His heart was racing. I need to get out of this town, fast. Behind him, he heard footsteps. Not many, just one person. He pulled out a small folding knife from his jacket. It wasn't much, but it was all he had. The footsteps got louder, closer, then stopped. Michael turned fast, knife ready. But it wasn't a soldier. It was a young man with messy hair and a leather jacket. I know who you are, the man whispered. Michael didn't blink. Then you know not to follow me. I'm not here to hurt you. The man said quickly. My name is Luca. I'm with a group that doesn't believe the news. We know what really happened. Michael lowered the knife slightly. Luca leaned closer. They used you. They want war. But not just between Russia and America. Bigger than that. You were just the match to light the fire. Michael frowned. Who are they? Luca shook his head. Not here. Too dangerous. He handed Michael a small map. A spot was marked just outside town. Meet me there in 1 hour. I can help you get to Prague. But be careful. There are eyes everywhere. Then Luca disappeared into the crowd. Michael looked at the map, then at the sky. The world had turned on him. But maybe, just maybe, not everyone had. Michael Scofield followed the map Luca gave him. It led him down a quiet path outside the town. Snow covered the ground like a white blanket, and bare trees stood like frozen statues on both sides. He moved fast but carefully. His eyes kept scanning the woods. Every shadow looked like a soldier. Every sound made his heart beat faster. After about 30 minutes of walking, he saw a small stone bridge up ahead. Beneath it was a frozen stream. On the map, this was the meeting point. Michael crouched behind a tree and waited. No sign of Luca. He waited 5 minutes, then 10. Then he heard voices. Not Luca. Soldiers. Russian soldiers. He stayed low and peeked through the trees. 2 guards stood on the bridge. They were checking cars, asking for papers. A black van waited while people handed over IDs. Michael's stomach dropped. There's a checkpoint now. That wasn't there before. He scanned the area for Luca. Nothing. Had he been caught? Or worse, had he set Michael up? Michael turned to leave but stopped. Someone was watching him. From the other side of the stream, it was Luca. He gave a small wave and pointed to a hidden tunnel under the bridge. It was dark, low, and wet. Michael nodded. He crawled quietly through the snow, then slid into the tunnel. Ice-cold water soaked his pants. The tunnel smelled bad. He moved slowly, every sound echoing loudly. Above him, he heard boots. The guards were right above the bridge. He held his breath after what felt like forever. He reached the other side. Luca was waiting. You're late, Luca whispered, smiling. There's a checkpoint now, Michael said. Luca's face turned serious. They're closing in faster than I thought. We need to get you out of Russia tonight. Michael nodded. Tonight? He would try to escape, but nothing ever goes as planned. Luca led Michael through the woods until they reached an old train station, hidden behind a cluster of trees. It looked like it hadn't been used in years. Rust covered the metal roof, and the windows were dirty and cracked. But Michael saw tracks and a train. It was a cargo train, long and loud, with crates and fuel tanks. A man stood near the engine, smoking a cigarette. He looked tough but calm. That's Yuri, Luca whispered. He's one of us. He'll get you out. Michael nodded. Where's the train going? South, Luca said. To Georgia. From there, you cross into Turkey. Then a flight to Prague, Michael sighed. That's a long way. It's the only way, Luca replied. And it's safer than going through another checkpoint. They waited until the train started moving slowly. Yuri opened a small door on the side of a cargo car. Get in, he said with a nod. Michael jumped in and found himself inside a dark container filled with sacks of grain. Luca tossed him a blanket and a bottle of water. Stay hidden, Luca warned. They'll be searching every stop. Michael sat down and pulled the blanket over himself. The train shook and rattled as it picked up speed. Luca banged twice on the side of the train as signal. Then he disappeared. Michael leaned back, listening to the sound of the train. I am finally getting out, he thought. But an hour later, the train screeched to a stop. Voices shouted outside. Dogs barked. Michael peeked through a crack. Soldiers. Again. He held his breath, praying they wouldn't open the door. Then he heard someone yell, "Check every car." He must be here. Michael's eyes widened. They found the train. And now, they were coming. Michael Scofield didn't move. He sat perfectly still inside the cargo train, hidden behind tall sacks of grain. His heart beat like a drum in his chest. Outside, soldiers shouted. Dogs barked. Boots thudded on the ground as they checked each car. He could hear the metal doors opening one by one. Bang, bang, bang. Closer and closer. Stay calm, Michael told himself. Don't panic. Think. He looked around the dark cargo space. There was no way out. Just sacks, ropes, and a small crack in the back wall. Barely enough to breathe through. Then the door to his car slammed open. Light poured in. 2 soldiers stepped inside with flashlights. One pointed toward the sacks. The other called for the dogs. Michael held his breath. Slowly, he crawled deeper between the sacks, hiding beneath an old tarp. The dog barked louder. It was coming straight toward him. This is it, he thought. They're going to find me. Then a whistle. The soldiers turned. Another voice shouted from outside. He's been spotted near the station. Move. The soldiers ran out. The dog barked again, but its handler pulled it away. The door slammed shut. Michael waited. 10 seconds, then 20, then a full minute. Only silence. He pulled the top of his face and exhaled deeply. They were gone. That was too close, he thought. He stayed hidden as the train started moving again, slowly, then faster, back into the night. He didn't know if the message outside was real or just a trick to pull soldiers away. But someone out there had just saved him, and whoever it was, Michael owed them his life. The train rumbled through the frozen countryside. Michael Scofield stayed hidden behind the grain sacks, listening to every sound outside. His muscles were sore. His lips were dry, but he was alive. As dawn broke, soft light slipped through the cracks in the cargo car. The air inside was dusty and cold. Michael looked around the walls, searching for anything useful. That's when he saw it. A message written in the dust on the metal wall. Keep moving. We're watching. His eyes narrowed. Someone had been in here before me, or someone came while I was hiding. He touched the letters. They were fresh. Michael's mind raced. Was it Luca? Yuri? Someone else? Was it a warning? Or a trap? He sat down, trying to rest, but his mind wouldn't stop spinning. He remembered the mission, the promise. We'll protect you. You'll be safe. Lies. They had used him like a tool, then threw him away. He thought about the Russian president. Was he alive? Was he dead? And why him? Why choose Michael Scofield? The train jerked suddenly, then slowed. Michael peeked outside through a crack. The train was pulling into a station. Small, quiet, snow-covered. A single guard stood near the platform. Michael knew this wasn't a final stop, but something told him to get off now. He grabbed his bag, wrapped the blanket around himself like a poor traveler, and waited for the train to slow down. At the edge of the platform, he jumped down quietly and walked with the other workers, head down. No one stopped him. No one noticed. He had escaped again, but he didn't know where he was. No map, no guide, no plan, just the message in the dust. Keep moving. We're watching. Michael Scofield walked through the small village near the station. It looked peaceful, like something out of a postcard. Snow-covered roofs, smoke curling from chimneys, and children throwing snowballs in the street. But peace was a mask. He knew better than to trust quiet towns. He pulled the blanket tighter around his body, pretending to be just another cold traveler. His beard was growing back a little, and he had dirt on his face, perfect for blending in. His stomach growled. He saw a small CF near the corner. A warm light glowed from inside. He stepped in slowly, pretending to limp. The CF smelled like coffee and fresh bread. A woman behind the counter looked up. She was in her 30s, with dark hair tied back and tired eyes. She smiled kindly. "Come in," she said in Russian. "You look frozen." Michael nodded. "Coffee, please." She poured a hot cup and placed a small piece of bread beside it. "No money?" she asked, seeing his empty hands. Michael shook his head. "I'll pay later." She smiled again. Many people say that. As Michael ate, he noticed her eyes watching him closely, not with fear, but curiosity. Then she said something that made him freeze. "They said you were taller." Michael looked up. "What?" She leaned in and whispered, "They're looking for you." "But I don't think you're the monster they say you are." Michael stared at her. "I can help," she said, "but you need to leave in 5 minutes. This place isn't safe." Michael's voice was low. "Why help me?" She pointed to a picture on the wall, a man in a soldier's uniform. "My brother, he was like you. They betrayed him too." Michael stood slowly. "Back door," she said. Outside, snow began to fall again. Someone else believed him, but danger was still close. Michael Scofield slipped out the back door of the CAF just as a police truck rolled slowly down the main road. The woman had handed him a scarf and a new pair of gloves before he left. "Follow the river," she had said. "It leads to an old checkpoint that's no longer guarded. From there, take the path through the hills." Michael didn't ask for her name. He didn't want to risk remembering someone he might never see again. Snow crunched under his boots as he walked through narrow paths behind houses, then down a hill where a frozen river curved like a snake through the trees. The wind howled. Michael pulled the scarf tighter and kept moving. Suddenly, a noise. Crack. He ducked behind a tree. Voices. Russian soldiers again. They were walking along the river, flashlights in hand. Michael looked at the map the woman had quickly drawn on a napkin. He was close to the old checkpoint. Just a few more minutes. He waited until the soldiers passed, then ran along the side of the river, keeping low. Then he saw it. A small wooden hut, abandoned, broken, half covered in snow. This was it. He pushed open the door and found a hole in the back, leading to a narrow trail between two rocks. It looked like an animal path, but on the other side, the road stretched out like a ribbon. Freedom, or so he thought. A voice called from behind him. Michael Scofield. He spun around, heart pounding. A tall man stood in the shadows, face hidden, but gun in hand. "I've been following you," the man said. "We need to talk." Now, Michael didn't know if this was another trap or the only chance he had left. Michael Scofield slowly raised his hands. The tall man stepped into the light. He wore a black winter coat, and his face was half covered with a scarf. But his eyes, they were sharp, watching, studying. "I'm not here to kill you," the man said quietly. Michael didn't lower his hands. "Then who are you?" "I used to work with the people who sent you on the mission." Michael's eyes narrowed. "Used to? I left. I saw what they really were." Michael still didn't move. The man lowered his gun and put it away. "If I wanted you dead, I would have pulled the trigger already. What do you want?" Michael asked. "To help," the man said. "And to stop them?" Michael frowned. "Why should I trust you?" The man pulled out a small black drive from his coat pocket. "This has proof," he said. "Files, names, calls, everything. The people who set you up, the real reason behind the hit on the Russian president. And what's coming next?" Michael stepped forward slowly. The man handed him the drive. "They used you, Michael, and now they're using the world." Michael looked down at the drive. "Who are you?" The man looked away. "I don't have a name anymore. I gave it up when I walked away." Before Michael could ask another question, the man pointed to the road behind the hills. "Keep moving. Get to Prague. The answers are waiting." Then, like a shadow, the man turned and vanished into the trees. Michael stared at the flash drive in his hand. It was cold and light, but inside it was truth. Maybe even the reason he was now the most hunted man on earth. He tucked it into his jacket and started walking. This time, he had a purpose. Michael Scofield moved fast under the cover of darkness. The hills rolled before him like waves, dusted with snow and shining faintly in the moonlight. He didn't look back. He couldn't. The border between Russia and Georgia was just a few miles away. He knew crossing it wasn't easy. Soldiers guarded the checkpoints, and cameras watched every road. But Luca's group had left a secret path, a narrow mountain trail hidden beneath the trees. Michael followed the trail, careful not to make a sound. The cold air burned his lungs. His legs ached, but he kept going. He was almost there. Then, from the silence, came a sudden noise, a crack of a branch snapping. He stopped. His heart pounded. A flashlight beam swept over the trees. A voice shouted in Russian, "Stop! Halt! Who goes there?" Michael froze. Then he heard footsteps running toward him. He had no choice. He ran faster than he ever had before. Branches tore at his face and arms. Behind him, voices shouted louder. He burst from the trees and saw a small dirt road ahead of border crossing point. 2 soldiers stood watching. Michael didn't slow down. He dashed across the open space. Bullets cracked through the air. One grazed his arm. Pain exploded. He kept running until he crossed the line. Georgia. He collapsed on the ground, breathing hard. He was safe for now, but he knew the hardest part was still ahead, because somewhere far away, the people who betrayed him were watching, and the world was closing in. Michael Scofield lay on the cold ground, his arm bleeding and heart pounding. He was in Georgia, now far from Russia's deadly reach. He should feel relief, but all he felt was a heavy shadow hanging over him. He pulled up the small black drive from his jacket pocket, the one with the secret files. The truth. He turned on a tiny hidden screen and started reading. Names, dates, phone calls, plans for a new war. A war that would destroy millions. Suddenly, his phone buzzed. A message popped up. "Welcome to the game, Michael. You're running out of time." Michael's eyes widened. He looked around. The quiet forest seemed to hold its breath. Then his phone rang. He answered. A cold voice spoke. "Did you really think you could run away? We own the skies, the streets, and the silence between your steps. You're alone, Michael, and soon the world will know your name not as a hero, but as a monster." Michael's hands clenched the phone tight. The line went dead. He was trapped, and the hunt was only beginning.
Subscribe for more content.